So now that we have our table set up, let's go ahead and get our model set up. Now we obviously have a craft command for model. So if we run craft, we'll see that we have a model command which creates a model. So let's clear and let's run craft model. And now this is our model name. Now model names are a bit standardized. Tables should be plural, like you saw when we created the projects table. Now our model will be a singular representation of that class. So for example, if we created a users table, we would create a user model. If we created an articles table, we would create an article model. So in this case, we created a projects table, so we will create a project model. Now models are located in the app directory, so we have our project model here. Now feel free to move this model wherever you want. Maybe you want it in a dedicated models directory, but for now we'll just keep it where it is. So inside here we have a very bare bones looking class. This is sort of the nature of the active record pattern, where normally you would specify the attributes on the model like Django. With this pattern, those attributes are set for you as you fetch the information from the database. You'll see how it works more when we start accessing the data, but just keep that in mind for now. This model as itself is technically, this model as is, can technically work just fine, but we'll add a few things right now to help us down the road. So by default, Orator protects against mass assignment. This means that we need to tell Orator which columns of our table will be fillable. Since Orator dynamically sets and unsets properties as we fetch data, this prevents user input from setting Python properties. It's a good security measure. Now to tell Orator which columns are fillable, we need a fillable attribute. This fillable attribute will take a list, and this list will contain all of the columns that we want to be mass assignable. So these are really just the ones that we want to be setting in our controller. So if you remember in our projects table, we had a name, description, and a manager ID. So these three fields are the ones that we will be managing in our controller, so therefore they need to be fillable. The created at and updated at do not, since Orator handles that internally. For the most part, we really don't have to worry about these two columns here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we had name, description, and manager ID. Now, since these columns sort of need to be remembered, we could use a craft command to generate a docstring to help us remember which columns we have available. So to do that, we could say craft model docstring, and then our table name, which was projects. This will create a docstring, so we can copy and paste that right here, and just make that a little prettier. So now when we go to set a fillable attribute or any other attribute in the future, we could sort of see what we have already on the table. Now that's currently it for models. Our model is set up and ready to go. So in the next tutorial, we'll start to talk about seeding, since before we start filling data into this table, we'll need a user to pass in as a manager ID. So we'll talk about database seeding and how to create seeds, and we'll seed 100 users into our user table. That's actually a really, really cool feature, so I'll see you then.